morning, good morning, good morning. This is Catherine, your host, to Good Morning to the Leader in You. Listen, we are in July. I pray that everyone's family and friends are doing well. But we're going to jump right into what we're going to talk about today. And it's shifting the atmosphere. Yes, today we're going to be talking about shifting the atmosphere as a leader in your home, as a leader in your business, as a leader in your community. We have to know how to shift the atmosphere and not allow the atmosphere to penetrate us emotionally, mentally, to the point that we are off track. I'm going to say that again. We as leaders, we got to know how to shift the atmosphere, and we don't allow the atmosphere to affect us emotionally or mentally and get us off track. As a leader, we have to be so focused. As a leader, we have to be very conscious and in tune in the environment that we're in. And we have to be in tune of the environment that we are creating, right? So when we talk about shifting the atmosphere, the word shift talks about move or cause. In terms of moving out into the next place, moving out into the next destination. Sometimes when you're shifting, there's a distance from point A to point Z. It's some friction sometimes that's in between you getting from where you're starting to where you're going. So there's a shift, there's a pull in the in-between transition to where you are going. Listen, when you're in a shift in your life, that means there's going to be a change in your position. There's going to be a change in your direction. And a lot of times the way in which you operate when you shift has to change. It must change. There's a requirement for change if you are going to operate in that next level of atmosphere as to where you are going to and where you are growing to. I want you to think about what's shifting in your life. I want you to think about that. What is shifting in your life right now? Take a moment and think about that. What's shifting or what needs to shift in your life? You see, as a leader, when we're shifting, again, it's a change that's taking place. And sometimes it is unpredictable. Sometimes that shift comes with different avenues that you're going down, and it's unpredictable. You're not even certain of every single pathway, but yet you still know that a shift is required to get you to the next place in your life, to get you to the next atmosphere in your life, right? The word shift is so pivotal in a leadership vocabulary. As a leader, it is pivotal, right? We have to be so conscious about where we're going and not get stuck in a box, not get stuck in a rut, not get stuck. So I speak to the leaders that's listening to this show. It's time to shift your atmosphere, whether it's in your home, your community, your business, whether it's shifting the atmosphere in your own mindset. In your own mindset. Sometimes us as leaders, as we're growing, we have to realize that we are peculiar, we are different, we are unique. Therefore, our atmosphere must be conducive as to where we're growing to. Because if it's not, we're going to become crippled in our leadership capacity. We're going to be crippled. We're going to be deformed because we would not have grown up into the person we should be developing, and the atmosphere that we should be able to breathe in, we won't be able to breathe. Just think about it. When the astronauts go out in space, right? They're going into a different atmosphere. There's a certain bodysuit and a certain helmet and breathing devices that they have to have so they can still sustain in that different atmosphere. It's the same thing as a leader. If we are not equipped with the tools we need, when we start to elevate in other atmospheres, we won't be able to breathe. We won't be able to maneuver. We won't be able to operate. We will be suffocating at that new level because we did not grow in the current level, which is what's preparing us to move to the next level. So when we think about shifting to the next atmosphere, when we look at the word the word the oftentimes is a thing. It is an object. It's something to move something forward. So whatever the is in your life, if the is stuck, it's time to move the forward. Whether it's in your family, whether it's in your business, your community, whether it's in, again, I say your own mindset, because sometimes it may not have to do with anybody else. Sometimes the thing that needs to move forward is our mindset. Sometimes if our mindset does not propel forward, when we try to go to that next level, when we see somebody, oh, I want to get to where they are. But listen, if we're not prepared and equipped to get to that next level, we won't be able to breathe. We won't be able to sustain on that next level because we're not prepared. I know one thing for me personally, I'm in a season of preparation. And honestly, every leader should always be in a season of preparation because we should always desire to grow. We should always desire to get to that next level. When we think about the word atmosphere, when I looked up the word atmosphere, it says the pervading tone or mood in a place or a situation. What is the mood in your home? What is the mood in your company, your organization, what you're building? When I looked up the definition of atmosphere, it also talks about it is what is surrounding. It is the influence in a particular environment. What is the influence in your environment? Sometimes we say, well, our business isn't growing, something isn't growing. Whatever you feel isn't growing, check the influence in your environment. What is in your environment that's causing this tug of war, that's causing this constant, we starting and stopping again. We're starting and stopping again. We're starting one day and we stop it the next day. What is that? What is that what is that object? What is that thing that's preventing you and I from shifting to the next atmosphere? Because see, sometimes there's something in the atmosphere that's causing a block. There's something in the atmosphere that won't allow you to move forward. And so my goal from this episode is that we all, including myself, sit back and analyze what's in the atmosphere. What's in the atmosphere of my business? What's in the atmosphere of my organization? What's in the atmosphere within the family? What's in the atmosphere within my mindset? Why is it this constant tug of war? What is going on? Leaders, it's time to shift the atmosphere. When I looked up atmosphere, it went on to say, it got a little technical, talking about atmosphere is defined as the area of air and gas enveloping objects in a space, like stars and planets, or the air around any location. And we can't even see air, right? Now, we just came out of this big pandemic last year where we're still evolving from that space of COVID-19. We couldn't physically see COVID-19, yet it shifted our atmosphere in 2020. We all got shifted because of something we couldn't even see. So we all have to take a moment and say, you know what is shifting my atmosphere that's going contrary to my goals, that's going contrary to my mission, that's going contrary to my dreams? What is in this atmosphere that won't let me move forward? What is in the atmosphere? It's time to shift the atmosphere. It's time to shift. It's time to shift. And I need you to say this to yourself. It's time to shift. It's time to shift. It's no more time to play it small. It's time to shift. How can a leader shift the atmosphere? Listen, leadership is not about a title. It doesn't matter what title a person has and how long they've had the title. That means nothing. But it's about the person that can actually influence an environment and transition that environment to make a positive impact on all that is in that space. Are you influencing the environment in a positive direction or in a negative direction? How are you using your influence? Think about that. Because we all have a level of influence, but how are we using our influence? There's a quote that says, a great leader possesses a clear vision, is courageous, has integrity, honesty, humility, and clear focus. It went on to say, great leaders help people reach their goals and are not afraid to hire people that might be better than them and take pride in the accomplishments of those that they help along the way. Listen, you got to bring other people in the team that's going to help propel your organization, your business, whatever you're working on forward. They're strong in something you're not, and vice versa. There's something else that I want to read that as I was looking up about changing the atmosphere. And it says, changing the atmosphere is all about being intentional. Sometimes we know our atmosphere isn't right. We know there's a lot of toxins in our atmosphere, but we just dwell in the toxin. We have become comfortable in a toxic atmosphere, and we're not intentional about getting out of that atmosphere because we become too comfortable and we are now attached to the toxins. It went on to say, instead of letting the atmosphere happen to us, we impose our will and we shift the atmosphere. You know, it's something that I heard not that long ago. Many of you might have heard of it as well, saying give your day an assignment, command your day. In the morning, I command my day. This is what's going to happen today. This is my goals. This is what's going to manifest. This is what it will be. I had a meeting a couple days ago, and I kept leading as I was driving to that appointment. I kept manifesting and saying, this is how it's going to be when I get to the appointment. This is what's going to manifest through the appointment. There's not going to be objections. We're going to flow through this. I kept speaking that out of my mouth all the way as I was driving to that appointment. Because see, my mind was trying to say something that was counterproductive. So I had to keep speaking it into my atmosphere. At that time, my atmosphere was my car because I was driving. Wherever you are, what is the atmosphere in it? And at that time, it wasn't anyone else around me. So I had to shift the atmosphere in my mind. It didn't have nothing to do with nobody else. It was my mind I had to shift. The phrase goes on to say, so often it seems like we respond to the atmosphere rather than interpret it and make an intentional shift. Sometimes we got to interpret what atmosphere are we sitting in? What is this I am feeling? Listen, I totally believe in gut feelings and that innate instinct. I do. I'm a believer, but I definitely believe in gut instinct, and I don't ignore it. I don't ignore it. Now, you can't react to everything you feel and see, but you got to be conscious of it so you know how to shift that atmosphere in the appropriate way. There's another statement that I found, and I thought it was interesting, and it says, words create. I think we all have heard that about how words create. The words we speak out create an atmosphere whether we want it to or not, okay? You know, so it's going to be, whether we want it to, your words are going to create the atmosphere. Remember, life and death is in the power of the tongue. Keep that always in the forefront of your mind. And it is a privilege as a leader, when we're standing before someone, when whatever we're doing in whatever leadership capacity, we got to be conscious about what we're saying. We cannot take that lightly, because what we say will shift the atmosphere either in a positive direction or a negative direction. We have to understand the positioning of our tongue. Yes, the positioning of our tongue. How are we using our language? How are we using it to create and shift atmospheres? The statement went on to say, creating our world with words happen when we believe the words. Sometimes we're just saying things and we don't even believe it, and therefore there is no atmosphere shift or change. Because some people will say, well, you know, I've been doing my positive quotes and praying and affirmations, but nothing is changing. Do you believe in what you're saying? I take you back, like I said, a couple days ago when I was going to an appointment, I kept saying to myself how the meeting was going to flow, and negating the negative things that was trying to pop up in my mind. We have the power to create something from nothing. and it goes back to our influence, who we are, how we create. We are co-creators one to another. We work in collaboration. And in those collaborations, what type of atmosphere is being created? What kind of atmosphere is being created? There's a quote by Billy Graham, and it says, I never seen the wind. I see the effects of the wind, but I never seen it. I'm going to say that again. I saw this quote and it hit me, and it said, I never seen the wind. Have you? Have I? No, I've never seen it. But the quote goes on to say, I see the effects of the wind. If your environment is not the way you want it, check what's in your language. Check what's in your environment. What type of environment are you creating in your home that can help set you for the week before you even go out the door? Because again, you can go in many different places. You cannot control other people and what they do, but you can posture your mindset before you walk out of that door, being equipped, being fortified as a leader, that when you go into other atmospheres that might be toxic, you can shift that whole environment. There's a quote that says, a positive atmosphere nurtures a positive attitude, which is required to take position. Again, a positive atmosphere nurtures a positive attitude. It's required to take positive action, to move out, to execute. Now, we cannot talk about shifting the atmosphere without talking about agriculture. As I was doing my studies, agriculture kept popping up. And one of the things that I found, it said agriculture is one of the biggest causes of the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And then it says climate change is a consequence of the buildup of greenhouse gases over the past 200 years in the atmosphere. And virtually all these emissions came from diverse countries. I want you to think about your life right now. Think about your life right now. And agriculture, is huge in what we're dealing with in our, climate change. But this particular phrase talked about how climate change is a consequence of the buildup of greenhouse gases. Again, gases is invisible, something you can't see. And it said with a buildup of over 200 years in the atmosphere. What has been building up in your atmosphere, and how long has it been building up? And from how many avenues and places has these various toxic gases been coming from? Listen, you're entering into a season in your life that you're going to have to shift some doors. You're going to have to close some doors. You're going to have to pivot certain things, because you cannot allow toxicity to surround you. Not when you're trying to go to the next level. Not when you're trying to get to certain atmospheres in your life. There's another phrase that says, we have affirmed the principle that a mature relationship between nations, as with individuals, can only flourish in an atmosphere of mutual respect. This goes to people that's building teams. You're building companies. You're working with diverse groups of people. Make sure within that nucleus there's mutual respect, right? Because see, when that starts to dismantle, the atmosphere changes, right? And the initial mission of why something was being implemented now has been tainted and is now shifted and dwarfed into something else. So you got to be very conscious as you're building something. You got to be conscious of the shift that's taking place, so you can stay focused and make sure things stay in the path in which it was intended for. There's another statement that deals with sports, and it says every baseball crowd, like every theater audience, has its own distinctive attitude and atmosphere. So we've all either have been to a physical sport game or we've watched it on TV. When you're in that crowd physically, I'm talking about when you're physically there, I feel energy. It's like all this, screaming and yelling and pumped up energy, and people's just like rooting for their team. The energy, the atmosphere is charged up. You have to keep your atmosphere inside yourself charged up, to wherever you go, your inner being will not be diminished because of what is in the atmosphere. And if it's something in the atmosphere that's toxic, you be the one to shift it. You be the one to change it. Again, I thought these analogies really kind of depicted really well about shifting the atmosphere. We're in a season. Listen, for those that have been listening to my podcast over the several years, we all have been growing and developing. And we are now in a season where it's not playtime. If we say we're called to do X, Y, Z, then we got to do it. And if it's friction, if it's a tug of war that's preventing forward movement, check the atmosphere. Check the atmosphere and shift it. Listen, as we get ready to wind down our segment, I just want everybody to be encouraged that this is your season. This is going to be a powerful third quarter. I know breakthroughs are going to happen. Business deals are going to happen. Collaborations are going to be formed. You're going to expand it into new markets and regions for your company. Your family unit is going to be stronger. I'm speaking life in all of these things. And you speak life into your atmosphere, right? Speak life into your atmosphere. And make sure your environment is conducive for the atmosphere where you're going. So that when you get to the next level in your atmosphere, you won't be suffocated, but you will have all the tools and equipment that you can breathe properly, you can walk, you can thrive, you can operate in your higher self, not from your lower self. And more importantly, a ripple effect will take place, meaning since you shifted the atmosphere, everyone around you atmosphere will shift, and then so on and so forth. So I hope this podcast was helpful. If you're in a season where you need help with strategic planning and organizational development, business plan development, send me an email, ct@katherinetrotter.com. I would love to work with you. Check out my website if you haven't already done so. It's simply katherinetrotter.com. And I'm going to see you at the top.